All right, welcome to a very special edition of the Row 3 Cinecast. I think it's episode 289. After many, many, many days, we've finally caught up with the Mammo guys on their sequence number.
No, they passed us. We're on.
Now we've caught up with them.
Oh, no, we got to play catch up. I see. Yeah.
So, and here we are in beautiful Tobago, the Caribbean. Andrew James, Kurt Hafford. Not our last day, but our second to last day, or at least my second to last day. But what else makes this day special is it's your birthday.
Yes, thank you very much. But we've been here long enough to realize we don't want to leave. I mean,
there's a plot of land for sale right across the road from us. This is the villa that we're staying in.
It's so good that we're pretty much spoiled. Like we're almost taking it for granted at this point. Mm-hmm. Like it's that good. So, but yeah. So we did actually still see a movie.
Yeah, we do have a movie to review today. We did catch the Schwarzenegger The Last Stand. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But as requested, we have food and beverage reviews to get to, and as if on cue. Here's perfect timing. The beverage thing is actually pretty hard because if I were to say one thing,
thank you very much.
LJ.
Thank you.
That I'm slightly disappointed in Tobago.
Spicy? All right.
Okay, they're both spicy?
All right.
No, I'll eat the spicy one. I haven't had a spicy one yet, so I'll give it a shot.
My lovely wife, Laura Jane, just delivered us hot doubles.
I don't know if the camera
breakfast treat of Trinidad and Tobago, which we've eaten almost every single day, right?
So they come wrapped in this. I don't know if the camera will be able to see.
Yeah, it doesn't look like much, but what it is a deep fried pastry bread with curried chickpeas and other herbs in there. There might be some cilantro in there.
We might need something cold to drink.
And a lot of yellow pepper, which I'm pretty sure is pretty close to that Scotch bonnet kind of pepper, where it's like super ridiculously spicy.
I think coffee will be a bad thing to be rinsing it.
Coffee and doubles, it is. But the guy opens up here, serves it out of the back of his trunk from 8:30 in the morning until his gigantic laundry pail of curry runs out. And oh my god, that's spicy.
It's good. It's really popular too because when we get there's always like a line of people waiting. I want 5, I want 6, and we show up and we want 10.
And that woman there that's dishing them out, she's just solid. Well, you might wait there 10-15 minutes by the time you actually get them, but they're just over 50 cents if you do the transaction. So yeah, why not eat 2 of them?
So back to the beverages, I would say the one thing I'm kind of disappointed in Tobago, if this is the one thing to be disappointed about, we're doing pretty good. There is no beer selection here. They have 2 kinds of lager, and they have 2 kinds of stout, like a Guinness stout, and
then
that's
Heineken
it.
And Corona.
Yeah, and Heineken, which is a lager, and Corona, and that's it. Like I was kind of expecting all these different types of local South American ales and what have you, and there just isn't any. So, which is fine. Yeah, well, I'm perfectly happy with the Stag. We could have brought a Stag out here.
We should have brought a bottle of Stag, out, and that's the beer we've been drinking. I don't know how many have we drank.
7 cases.
24 cases of 24. Because they're very tiny.
Yeah, they aren't quite pony bottles, but they are smaller than a typical.
I think they're smaller than a Corona bottle, like 330 mils or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you tend to pop them back before they get warm. The other thing that's been pretty sweet. So we're about a 10-minute walk from the beach, like a 1-minute drive, and every morning or every night we can just drive down to where the fishermen are coming in and get the local fish and that's pretty amazing. Again, it's like stupid cheap, and cook it up on the barbecue here. Unbelievable.
So good.
Unbelievable.
Like, we had fish one night, and everybody was saying, this is amazing, this is so good, we have to do this again. Like, this is some of the best fish we ever had. The next day, we got fish, and everybody said, this is better than last night. It just got better. So we'll have to do that again for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of now
Why wouldn't you?
like the doubles.
like
It's
the
a
best
daily
thing.
ritual. The one thing, almost every meal that we've had here, like we had the kingfish with the kelp and that huge meal in Castara Bay, which was amazing.
That was so good.
I don't know what. Like local here, when you're ordering food, if you're not at a fancier restaurant, you basically just specify your meat, and you get kind of the same
Conglomeration.
somewhere mixture between African, Indian, and South American, because that's kind of the nexus of cultures that have all congregated on Trinidad and Tobago. Curiously, there's an English and a Italian influence here. I don't know why the Italians are there. I mean, the English own the island, but absolutely amazing.
And that's the plan for today, right? We're gonna go get some Italian food for your birthday.
We're gonna actually hit an Italian cafe for lunch at late lunch at 2:00.
Emma and I went for a walk along the beach, and we were kind of looking for like a snack food or an appetizer thing, and we found little chicken. They were basically like cheese wontons that you would get at a Chinese restaurant or whatever, but there was no cream cheese in them. It was satay chicken, and it came with various sauces. So even like the bar food is atypical, and it's different and really good. We enjoyed that. We're gonna go back there. Also, I should say, we're using a little bit different recording setup than we usually use. I'm not using the Google Plus; it's the built-in thing here, so I can't flip to pictures. However, in the show notes, I'll throw in some pictures of these things that we're talking about.
And our
We've taken pictures of everything. How many pictures have you taken?
iPhone Memo backup thing has failed.
Oh, it's failed. All right. Well, hopefully
so we're on this one. I have taken 3,900 photos, just because it's easy to do that, and I've been getting a very good response from them.
Well, they're really great. And then on top of that, I've taken maybe 100 a day. No, less than 100 a day, but that's a lot of pictures, a lot of eggs.
It should be said that while the island is not like developed or necessarily manicured, it is just naturally freaking gorgeous. Like, it's kind of that don't touch the land, just leave it alone kind of gorgeous. And I mean, the beaches here are insanely empty.
There's nobody here.
There's nobody here.
The only beach that we had the slightest bit of traffic on was that first day, the one where you actually pay to get in a couple dollars. But even that, there was not really many people around us. And then all the other beaches, we are literally the only ones on the beach. It's amazing. That's one of the things I was worried about, like all the touristy, like umbrellas everywhere. Beaches of California, just you have to find a place. It's not like that at all. No. It's a beach to yourself, at least this time of year.
Yeah, almost every time when you're walking along the beach, it's just it's ridiculous. It's like the commercial.
Yeah,
you know, when you have kind of an expectation when you take this kind of vacation and you look at through brochures or whatever, and you have this mental image and you're like, there's no way that it can be exactly what that looks like. Like there's going to be whatever, but no, here it is actually like that.
What else food wise? You mentioned the Castara Bay stuff, but we have to go further. We had kingfish. Each one of us had a different plate: a kingfish, a shrimp, a chicken. I think they had goat, but nobody ordered that. I had the shrimp, and it was just in this amazing curry sauce. That's the other thing. The curry here is different from the curry in my experience. I'm not a big curry guy. Like, we go out, we have tons of Thai restaurants and Indian restaurants in Minneapolis, and I always stay away from the curry. I'm not a fan, and the curry here is just different.
It's neither like Thai curry nor like Indian curry.
No, it's its own thing. It's
totally
much more subtle.
Yeah, it is much more subtle, and curry generally was made to overpower meat that was kind of off, and here it's not at all.
It's a good compliment. It was some kind of curry sauce over that shrimp, and those shrimp were like, they were good size. They weren't those little baby ones.
And
they were just.
I mean,
amazing.
we're hardly food critics. We're just like kind of in awe
it was
of
good.
how good the food is. Yeah. So, but the steak of kingfish that I had was insane to die for. We had kingfish. We had Maui at this little roadside bar. Yeah. We had, what was the fish we had last night? Begin with L.
Cavalli.
Oh no, cavalli.
Yep.
And we had the red snapper, and we had Georgie's. And it's all been amazing.
Yep.
Although the cavalli, I think, has been
that was the best one that we bought. And we're lucky enough to have your dad here who cleans it all.
Yeah,
so we don't have to pay for the cleaning. And he
Newfie fisherman, so he does all the cleaning. Although they'll clean it on the beach for you for, I guess,
a price.
Something. But the other, we did some beach kiosk food. One of the things here is the crab and dumplings. So it's like the small land crabs here. Probably steamed and then cut into quarters and then put into a curry with sort of unraised roti bread.
Yeah,
it's like a really dense, floury kind of thing. And it's the messiest possible meal you can ever have. You saw it was squirting everywhere, and the crab was really to just add a little extra flavor to the curry. That when you eat the bread, it's all there. But you can go through all the legs and eat it all there. I have to say I was a bit disappointed in the shark and bake, which is the shark sandwich. It's kind of like the beach burger.
Yeah, it looked like a McChicken.
It did, and
out of shark,
yeah. So I'm hoping maybe I'll have a better one. And there's a roti shop every 5 minutes up the street here, and the one at the end of our road is amazing.
Oh, that was great.
For something like $3, like our money, you get your four. She doesn't wrap it up like a sack. Like normally it's like a big burrito, right?
Like
of stew, right? She doesn't wrap it up like that. She serves it with them cut into quarters on the side, and then you have all sorts of vegetables and whatever meat you ordered. Yeah, there's Emma doing her towels out.
Sorry.
And you've got whatever. She has a little sheet of paper there, and all the local vegetables she happened to bought to put into the roti, into the curry. She just had checked on things, so when you go up and order, and you just order again by meat. But and then she serves it in a tray. So when they make the roti, even up our way, they often leave the bones in the meat. Like they're not using the best meat, right? They're just using whatever. And so you're kind of eating along, and all of a sudden you hit a bone. But here you can pick it up by the bone, eat the meat by hand, and then use the bread to dip in the wonderful curried sauce and all the vegetables and everything else. So yeah, I can't say really enough about the food. We found our own up the street. There's actually like a livestock farm, so we could go. We did go up and buy some steaks and some pork. Not really two foods that are regularly consumed here, but we still had access to them, and we got a huge barbecue. You can't see it, but it's behind us by the pool. So we can kind of cook on our own, and that's the dilemma when you're here. You're like, you can have this great barbecue and get the great local fish, but you don't have the expertise of how they spice and their like various, like that yellow pepper sauce that they make, that super spicy sauce. So, but that being said, salt, pepper, and a little bit of fish seasoning with olive oil on the barbecue, and that fish is like heaven. Yeah, it's just insane.
It is so good. And then there's within walking distance, it's like a 3-minute walk to the end of the road, and all over the place are all the little stands where you can get vegetables. They're like brought in daily.
Yeah, you don't actually buy produce in. There's one grocery store that's anywhere near us, and they don't carry produce, so you pretty much have to buy your fruit and veg
from the little
else.
stands. Yeah. And it's amazing. The pears, I've been eating pears every day. It's just like I don't know how to explain it. They're perfectly ripe. That you don't. There's not even a core hardly at all. You can eat the entire pear outside of the stem, and they're just so juicy and soft and not mushy, just soft. And I just go up there every day and have a pear because it's that amazing.
We've got mangoes growing on the property, and the lady who looks after the villa here picked some unripened ones and boiled them with sugar and some coloring and spices, and it makes this red. Again, the camera wouldn't do it justice, so I'm not going to grab them, but it makes this sort of these red flats of mango that you just eat like something like if you have a hard alcohol, if you're drinking scotch or rum straight and you eat this on the side, it's amazing.
Yep. It's almost candy.
Well, I was saying yesterday we should have chopped it all up. It is like candy. Chopped it all up and just mixed it in with the rice.
And speaking of candy, I've been trying a little local. Just when you go to the checkout lane at a grocery store, right? There's Butterfingers and Snickers. Here it's like a little more local. I don't know if it's homemade. I don't think it is, but it looks kind of homemade. Little malt fudge. I had that white chocolate thing yesterday that tasted like Indian shortbread, kind of.
It was some Indian wedding.
Oh,
thing.
right.
Yeah. Grocer.
Again, the grocer was Indian.
The local mixture of people when Tobago claimed independence 50 years ago was half African, half Indian.
Yep.
So.
And other than that, food, I think that covers it. We'll do Italian later today, and then it's fish and
more fish and more fish.
It's kind of doubles all the way out.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
Well, we're gonna have birthday cake tonight too.
That
homemade
is true.
Cake. Yep.
That is true, and yeah, I mean we can eat every meal outdoors. Like we're in the gazebo of the property. That's why the house is in the background here. So we've got enough space here to eat pretty much anywhere. Verandas, dining room, by the pool, in the gazebo here.
Yeah, you can see. Yeah.
My father's been using the gazebo bar to clean the fish because it's got a sink and a huge amount of workspace. Yep. So
yeah, if you want to get married, you
Yeah.
can do it here. We're on a dance floor basically right now, and there's a full bar right there and a chopa.
Yeah, so the food is great. The weather is like ridiculous. It's the same weather every day.
It's 85 degrees every single day, except for that one day we had a nice rain shower. That was fine, actually. That was fun. We took a little walk in the rain, actually.
We got just annihilated when we were walking.
Well, it would be like
right
a
through.
downpour for like 5 minutes, and then it'll just sort of mist for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes.
What were those chicken wontons you got on?
Yeah, I talked about those already. They were the satay, chicken satay.
Whew.
Those were good.
So we're eating well and living well. Like we are way beyond our means here. It is ridiculous. And then we found just up the street from us a 5-screen cinema multiplex.
We should talk about the theater itself.
We should.
So we were just remarking, not a couple hours before we went, about the people here and how clean they are and how like they take pride in kind of themselves and keeping things nice. On the outside, it might look a little dodgy, a little third world, but when you get inside places, it's really nice. And
people
this theater
tend to dress ridiculously well as well.
The people going to church were dressed to the nines. Like you think these people are just like dirt poor, and they're actually not.
Not at all.
And I think the theater totally epitomized that. I was surprised when we got in there, first of all, how clean it looks like any other theater, kind of a 90s style multiplex theater, but it was very clean, and all of the people working there were in really nice uniforms. Their hair was really nice, and even the way they stood, like almost like soldiers, and then they say, "Here's your screen, sir," when you walk through.
And yet, because there was a huge street party going on outside the theater, like with, 8-foot-high speakers and a bar, and it wasn't even there during the day. Like I don't know if they just brought it all in remotely and set up this huge street party.
Yeah.
And so like people, a number of people going into the movies, everyone's obviously dressed really casual going in the movies, yet the theater was, it wasn't like just saying it was neat and clean is kind of wrong. It was immaculate.
Right.
Like the carpet
Right.
and the everything else. Like none of the multiplexes at our way are as maintained. I don't know how long the cinema's been here. It was here when we were here in '09, so it's been here at least 4 or 5 years. But it was immaculate.
Agreed. Yeah, even the seating area, it wasn't stadium seating, but the seats were
Brand
like
new.
they were
It looked
brand
like
new.
they'd just been put in yesterday. And it wasn't very busy. Although, I mean, I guess most of the first run movies here are the same as first run in the States.
Pretty much.
Like
They're showing Gangster Squad. They had Hansel and Gretel
yeah,
tonight.
Gangster Squad, Hansel and Gretel, Zero Dark 30, The Last Stand, and The Impossible.
Do you want to talk about the food at the theater?
Food at the theater. I did not see popcorn. I
That's-
don't buy it anyway. But I didn't see popcorn. But what really made me happy was they sold big like grocery store sized bags of chips. I didn't see how much they charged for concessions. Like the concessions seemed, again like pretty typical.
Yeah, it was soda and
No,
hot
but I mean the
dogs
costs. Like it was
Oh,
overpriced.
a little bit
concessions,
cheaper, but
because the exchange here is lower. Like the movie ticket was about what, $8.
less than $8. I bought a soda that was maybe about that big for $2 American.
Yeah, which I mean up our way everything is way more expensive. And yeah, my coffee was $2. They serve coffee in the theater, which made me happy. And you could get like a chicken and fries meal, and they would give you a tray that fit in your lap, and it had like 3 cup holders.
That's
in it.
something all theaters should have. That
They
yeah.
actually I mean the Cineplex our way has like these paper trays that but they're like this was like a solid plastic tray
with cup holders and a big open. Yep.
And the cinema auditoriums weren't particularly large, but what I did like is the first row of seats was way back from the screen. Like the space between the first row and the screen was huge.
Yeah.
Like you could have had a full band with all their equipment underneath that stage. Some theaters anyway, so yeah, it was pretty it wasn't unique in the way that, say, the Kinmount Theatre in Ontario is unique or whatever. Like, it was kind of just a multiplex, but it was a exceptionally high standard multiplex.
Yeah, I was really impressed, really surprised.
Surround sound was awesome, and they showed our movie on 35 millimeter, which made me very happy, particularly because The Last Stand is a kind of a yellowy, browny kind of movie.
Deserty
because
movie,
of the desert. And that just shows up to me way better on 35 millimeter color wise than on digital. So
Yep.
and again, it's so rare at this point now to get a movie on 35 millimeter that I'm like, because we were going,
That's true.
What do you think they're gonna do?
I
What do
was
you think
betting
they're
on
gonna do? You were
digital.
betting on digital.
I
'cause
figured
the
it'd be
theater's
cheaper.
newer, right? It probably would be.
The last thing about the theater too, I really liked the lighting they had on the sides of the theater instead of just spotlights or whatever. They had they look like sort of Victorian era, like light lamp posts on the sides. I kind of like that.
Yeah. They were like a street lantern.
Yeah.
Street lantern
Something
thing.
somebody would be holding.
Yeah.
So the movie itself, we haven't even talked about it between you and myself. What's the name of the director?
Kim Ji-woon.
Kim Ji-woon.
He made A Bittersweet Life, The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, I Saw the Devil, Tale of Two Sisters,
Yep.
and The Quiet Family. I mean, pretty...
Directing wise, it did remind me in a lot of ways of Good, Bad, and Weird. Just the way the camera, he's constantly moving the camera.
Like sticking it on the side of cars.
But it's usually very sweeping and very smooth, and it's not shaky cam. His handheld stuff is pretty solid, but it's always moving. Like you're just constantly interacting with your environment. That was like a constant through the whole movie, and I really just got immersed in it. I think mostly because of those camera movements.
Yeah, on a technical level, it's a pretty exceptional movie. On a story plot level, it's kind of
typical,
funny in that it's in a way it's good because it's so pure and simple. Like so Forrest Whitaker plays an FBI agent who's transferring like the biggest Mexican cartel boss, really young guy. He's about to take over the entire like Mexican drug cartel, played by Spanish actor Eduardo Noriega, who's
like that
amazing.
guy. Yep.
That guy's amazing. I mean, if there's one thing in this movie is that it's way overcast because no one really has anything strenuous to do acting wise, but they've got like great character actors in all the parts.
They just kept popping up.
Yeah, it was weird to see how many actors popped up. But anyways, and then so he's got all of his goons that pull this heist essentially to free him and get him across the border, and Schwarzenegger, along with his deputy or his deputy sheriff, played by Luis Guzman, are in this tiny little town that the entire town basically is leaving for a big football game or something.
Yep.
And he's there by himself with his sheriffs and like a few locals that didn't go to the game. And then they get wind that they're going to blast through the town. They've got this like super souped up Corvette that he's driving with one of the FBI agents hostages, and they decoy to another town thinking they're going to cross there, but in reality they're going to cross this deserted little border town. And Schwarzenegger figures it out like incredibly fast, and like doesn't even like, oh yeah, I know it, I got it. This is what's going to happen. Like that's the whole movie. Like there's no
I love how
subtlety.
The first like 15 minutes is just the most blatant foreshadowing narrative ever. The car, the red sports car that's parked in the fire zone. How are you going to tie that in?
It's like late 80s, early 90s, not quite Last Action Hero, but late 80s, early 90s Schwarzenegger jokes. They're not good jokes. No, they're just kind of silly.
And they're even worse when he's old. Some of them actually work kind of well, but like the guy saying, nothing ever happens around here. It's just like
constantly, constantly. Well, and they have the whole plot with this young officer who wants to go to L.A. and Schwarzenegger's like an ex-L.A. tactical cop that had like all of his buddies killed in a drug bust, and now he's retired out in this little Summersville, Arizona, and then they've got like the other officer, this very attractive lady. Her boyfriend's kind of like the ex-military town drunk, right. And he's that's Rodrigo Santoro, I think, plays him.
Yep,
the guy from Lost,
good-looking
the
guy.
Little random beach guy, number 6.
That's the other thing. On a per capita basis, this town has the most beautiful women in the world.
Yeah, every
oh my God, that waitress.
And yeah, there's the waitress there. So the drug cartel's main henchman is played by Peter Stormare with the worst Texas accent you could possibly imagine. Like
that had to be an intentional
people mock
casting.
Americans with bad accents, but this one is legendary. Like this is why even try? Why not just make him European? That he worked for him.
I think maybe that was part of the shtick.
Maybe it was part of the shtick because he went from
Let's do it.
Swedish to like Southern Europe to
like
Texas,
Russian Texas.
I mean, Stormare is one of these guys. Like I think in the 3 or 4 trailers that they showed beforehand, he was like in the movies of those trailers. Like the guy's prolific, and he plays Russians. He plays Americans. He plays pretty much like every nationality. I mean, when he's in a movie like Fargo, you have no idea where he's from.
No.
And so he's in there with all of his like Navy SEAL guys, and they're building this mobile bridge over the canyon so that they can
the
race
drug
across
lord can get
border.
across. Yeah.
So the thing ends up in a big Western. Like the movie wants to be a car chase movie, but it also wants to be a Western. Like I think tonally, the best way I can sum up The Last Stand is if Michael Bay directed Tremors, and instead of movie monsters, it was fast cars. Yeah. That is what The Last Stand is.
Pretty much.
Because you've got like a ton of local town people that are there, and it's not like a horror movie where they like that's one thing I love about Tremors is that like not everybody dies except the main 2 characters. Like like a lot of people work together, and like there's like the classic little old lady gag where she's armed to the teeth, and then all the people that refuse to leave the diner while the big high noon Central Town shootout is going on. I mean, that shootout set piece is amazing. Like where they've got them all positioned, and then it plays. Actually, yeah,
it's a bit like a Western.
Let me throw in Assault on Precinct 13 in there because it kind of has that feel to it as well. Because like all the SWAT guys with the big heavy armaments that are working for Peter Stormare's character are nameless and faceless. I think they're called like Ponytail and Blonde Hair and in the credits. And then Harry Dean Stanton shows up to play a dairy farmer at one point, and
not for very long.
Not for very long. Spoiler. But I'm like, Jesus! Like that was the reaction for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah. So, this guy's in this.
The movie is structured like a very slow at the beginning. There's tons of setup. They want to give you the fact that nothing happens in this town, and then they want to show all the stupid CSI, Michael Bay, Jerry Bruckheimer, FBI gear, like when they're tracking him down and doing heists and all that. Like all that movie bullshit is in there. But because the movie is so breezy and so airy and so not taking itself serious, I rather enjoyed it. I thought it was really... Yeah, you're watching this and you're going, this is just ridiculously stupid. But it's stupid in the same way a lot of Schwarzenegger's 80s stuff was stupid. Like I guess because you've got Schwarzenegger cracking one-liners, and while the one-liners weren't good, they weren't like super groany. I don't know. The screenwriting was not
my only real problem with the goofery was the Johnny Knoxville character. I thought it went a little bit over the top.
Because he was
when he was climbing the pole.
He was basically doing Jackass.
He was.
The show.
He was acting like a monkey.
He was
like
he was like an arms dealer. That lived out in the middle of the desert, and so when they find out that the car, all of his car entourage are going to plow through this town, and they want to block the roads, they go to him, deputize him, and basically steal all of the weapons that Schwarzenegger needs to make a Schwarzenegger
this guy
action
runs
movie.
like a
He's
gun
got chain guns and dynamite and
museum or whatever.
Yeah. But basically, it's a front for selling arms.
Yes.
And then it ends with this absolutely beautiful car chase through a cornfield.
Through the cornfield, I was going to say.
Where all the corn is dried out husks. And I would just, it makes me very, like, I was enjoying the hell out of the scene. But what I was picturing is all the scenes where they had to have like gaffers and stuff with baskets of dead corn, throwing it onto windshields as they pushed a camera through because like the car chase through there is really long. And he mounts sometimes it is the cars driving through the cornfield. Yeah. But oftentimes it's like that scene in The Empire Strikes Back where Luke crashes the X-Wing into Dagobah. Yeah. And it's like just a little camera with a little windshield in front of it as it goes through the swamp. If you've ever seen the behind the scenes.
And they got two different cars too, so you got to have a black one and a red one.
Yeah, it's funny because it's such a it's a Korean director. That is the breeze picking up, blowing our camera. It's a Korean director, but he's made the most dick-swinging American movie possible. Like, it's two American muscle cars. Yep. And it's an American versus a Mexican drug lord. And, yeah, it's just...
They even have the battle on the bridge, the hand-to-hand combat. It almost looks like they were going to have a fast draw.
Well, yeah, definitely there was a tumbleweed blowing through as Schwarzenegger. Like, they do that. I love when movies do it. It's the easiest camera trick in the world, where the guy gets up and the camera's like point of view just kind of, or it's just behind him, and he gets up and he moves a little bit and reveals the actor that's been hidden by him in profile. And yeah, I mean,
back to the cornstalk thing too. I did like there was a sequence where the camera pulls up and you see the two cars like basically right next to each other.
Because they can't find each other.
But you see that they're right next to each other. It would have been neat to have that pullback shot as they were racing through there, and I don't think they showed that.
Yeah, there were a few wide angles
from back, but
like it said, like very much like The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. The camera work is exceptionally energetic. I didn't look it up, but the Forrest Whitaker's backup guy was Korean, and I couldn't tell if it was the actor, the main actor from A Bittersweet Life. He wasn't as attractive as that guy, so I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
But I would have figured that if you're going to put a Korean FBI agent in there, he would use one of his guys.
Probably some of you know.
Right?
Yep.
But anyway, Yeah, the fight on the bridge was interesting because Eduardo Noriega, who doesn't really get to do much in this movie except for look sexy and drive. Yeah. He has a lot of close-ups of his gloved hand, stick shifting, and then the car. They had this funny camera trick. The car could go like 300 miles an hour or something, and every time he would put it into like overdrive, the camera would pull back to give the illusion that the car was going.
The thing, well, he makes the Batmobile joke. Forrest Whitaker does. The thing almost is Batmobile. Like, he goes into stealth mode a couple times and just turns the lights off
the
and
most
turns
ridiculous thing where he runs an SUV head on into it, and the SUV, like a Lamborghini, goes up the car and flips over. Like, again, it's Kim Ji-woon, so I'm not expecting subtlety. But they could have easily just had it. Like, they're constantly saying he's a great driver. They could have just as easily had him maneuver a bit. It's all going at high speed. And just have the SUVs crash. But no, he has to turn around, drive backwards at 150 miles an hour, and then put it in forward, and then have the guy. It was weird because the movie wasn't ludicrously stupid. It wasn't like Peter Jackson Dead Alive, like where it's just like Looney Tunes stupid, but it wasn't serious ever.
No.
And then the end fight was like a mixed martial arts fight.
Yeah,
like,
one guy just
Noriega's doing like the grappling
UFC,
moves, and Schwarzenegger just basically picks him up and bashes him off the steel work of the bridge. I thought for sure he's going to throw him off the bridge and say something along the lines of
high tide.
I just stood aside. Schwarzenegger is playing the most ridiculous, like flawlessly perfect human being. He's like a mentor to his officers. He always does the right thing. He finds a way to be friendly with the locals. Watching grizzled 60-something Schwarzenegger, who looks really good as a grizzled man, sitting in a diner having coffee in the coffee shop in the morning and talking to the locals, is ridiculously not realistic. Like,
not at all.
You just can't imagine this buff, craggy, aging guy hanging out, chatting, like the ex-governor of California, ex-biggest movie star on the planet, just hanging out, having morning coffee, saying, "Morning, Darla."
And the way that scene is shot, too, like, it's kind of, the camera's kind of low, and he comes in, and he just kind of surveys everything, like, really slowly. It's, like, really shitty acting. And he gives the over-the-shoulder, like, glare at the guys sitting in the table.
Oh, yeah. What is he? He's in the coffee shop for like 2 minutes, and Peter Stormare and his one henchman are finishing up their bacon and eggs. And he looks at them, and he's like, "Something is off here." And that's it. Like, he basically has figured out the whole plot at a glance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't really. It is worth going to see. It's not a classic movie. It's not even a classic Schwarzenegger action movie because the high concept isn't high concept enough, and so I don't think. And the screenwriting is pretty shitty.
Yeah, to be expected, but it's fun. It's never slow for sure.
And
it moves along.
There's a hummingbird right there on the on the red thing, a little red hummingbird. So anyway, it's one of those perfect munch popcorns, and all the Tobagan folks behind us. You're right. It wouldn't be a bag of chips movie. But all the Tobagan locals that were sitting behind us,
they were just
like it was definitely a rowdy screening. Like if I was watching Zero Dark 30 like that, I'd probably be annoyed by all the noise in the theater. Everyone was carrying. But for that movie, that just seemed totally appropriate. It just seemed the right thing. Thank you. Here, let me pass it here. Let's pass it here. That's Emma just delivered my happy birthday sign. Very nice. Thank you very much.
You're all flowered up too. I don't have anything else to say about the movie yet. But yeah, the people behind that one lady just laughing, and she
that's a bad joke.
I can't breathe.
Because it was the worst joke in the movie. Like again, I don't think they were laughing at the joke. I think it was just like the worst
ridiculousness
joke
of
ever
the whole thing.
Made.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I thought it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed sitting through it.
Emma, could you get us a couple beers? A Stag.
Yeah, the Stag. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was good. It was a pretty quiet night though. Like actually, it
how
wasn't
many people
quiet.
were in the
It wasn't quiet in the cinema, but just the people hanging out with the souped up pimp automobiles. Like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, it's like Fast and Furious outside.
It was Fast and Furious with cars like on air rides and guys with huge gold chains and shit. I'm wondering, and it's at this. So where we're staying is in kind of like a local town.
Yeah, it's like a little
There's
village.
nothing in Bon Accord except for local houses. The town next to us is called Crown Point, and that's the town with the beaches and the airport. So it's a little more built up and shoppy because that's where most people stay if they're not on the island. If they're coming in from Trinidad or if they're coming in from Britain or Canada or the States or wherever. But as you push towards Scarborough, which is the capital city and pretty much completely local, there's this town called Canaan. And right at the edge of Canaan is the former Hilton, which is this huge, huge resort. It's got a golf course, and it's what you think of when you think of ridiculous Caribbean resort. It's the only one on the island. And right across the road, I'm assuming built to coincide with this, is like a Western-style shopping mall. And that's where the multiplex was located. So it looks just like a regular Orange County mall. and yet there was this big, like street party, Fast and the Furious thing going on when we came out. And everything shuts down here around midnight. So when we got out of the movie at 11 o'clock, that was like, just before last call or whatever.
We were trying to do our drink review thing, and we didn't have a bottle to show. No. So
We've moved on from coffee to beer, even though it's still 9 in the morning here.
now I'm local. So this is the local beer. The bottle looks big, I suppose, in the camera, but I assure you, it's a little bit smaller than
It's
normal.
a little tiny thing. So, and it's all made. But
Might as well
both
drink
of the
it.
beers that are competing here, like in Canada, you have the two big beer companies. You have Molson's and Labatt's, and they basically make what we call the two brown bottle beers, like the two local cheers. Here, there's one brewery in Trinidad, and it's called Carib Brewery, and the main other beer in the Corona style bottle is called Carib.
Carib.
I don't like it. It just tastes like a shitty beer. This tastes like a great, refreshing beach beer. Like you can drink 10 of these in a couple hours. You're still sober. I don't think
Essentially,
there's,
yeah.
It says 5.5, but
Nah,
they're totally
I don't
shitting
think
us.
so, yeah.
And then there's these. Then they make these like breezer cocktails called shandies.
Oh, we forgot about
which
those. Yep.
are they're one of these beers, like a lager beer mixed with fruit juice. So they have a sorrel, which is a local fruit. They have lime. I think there's an iced tea one and a ginger one. Mm-hmm. And they are 1.6% alcohol, and you drink them like a barely carbonated soda.
Basically
like just
soda.
Boom.
The only one I had was the lime one, and I thought it was. You just drink it with. If you want a soda, that's what I drink. I'd be surprised if there's even 1.2 in there.
The lime one was the best, but you could have, other than the fact that there's probably like a ton of sugar in them.
Oh yeah.
I know I've gained about 4 pounds since I've been down here.
I haven't weighed. I don't want to.
The if we ate a steady diet of fresh fish, you'd do pretty good.
Yep, fish and rice.
Because again,
And all
the
vegetables
locals
and
down
fruit.
here are almost across the board skinny because there's really only one fast food place on the island, and that's the Pizza Boys, which is a pizza and chicken place.
We haven't even been there.
Like beef is not really a thing here.
That said, those steaks that first night, those T-bones, those were good.
They were good. But everyone's skinny on the island because everyone walks everywhere and everyone eats fish all the time. So
Yeah.
I'm sure we'd be doing the same. So I don't know. You got a watch list?
No, I don't. Well, I watched half of a Chuck Norris movie when it was raining and we jumped into a restaurant. There was a Chuck Norris and the guy from Adventures in Babysitting, the black guy, Joe Gibb. I don't know his real name. But he was in it, and it was like a buddy cop thing in Israel, and then all of a sudden it turned into sort of a supernatural thing where Chuck Norris has to fight the devil. it was really slow. Like nothing was going on. It was them walking around and then dealing with like local kids trying to pick their pockets, and then meanwhile this devil guy is like trying to find some kind of artifact. Couldn't hear every word because it was on a bar TV, but as Chuck Norris 90s movies go, it was probably on par with the rest of Chuck Norris 90s movies. It was pretty ridiculous and stupid, but it was fun. I actually want to watch the end when I get home. Find out. I want to actually see Chuck Norris fight the devil. I mean, it's no contest, right? Chuck Norris wins that hands down. He can do it with his
I think based on the meme, he has to win.
That's my watch list. Half a Chuck Norris movie in the bar.
The rest of the time, well, we watched 5 minutes of what's that movie with Winona Ryder and
The Crucible.
We watched 5 minutes of The Crucible and 5 minutes of another Winona Ryder movie with Adam Sandler, Mr. Deeds, in Spanish.
Both in Spanish.
Off of the Guyana, like because we're about like 15 kilometers from Guyana in South America, so we get Guyanese TV, which is in Spanish, and so we were flipping through looking for like music in the background, right?
And we do have the Netflix here, but we haven't even bothered to. Why watch Netflix when we can go go for a swim?
There's no reason. The kids come in at night and watch a little bit of TV. Oh, the other thing that we're gonna do tomorrow is go back to Buku Beach where they have Sunday school, and they just have endless stalls of street food.
I'm not eating tomorrow until
I'm not
get
eating
there.
tomorrow either. Like they were doing lobster on the grill. They had all sorts of chicken and shrimp in sauces and whatever, and I'm sure it's ridiculously cheap. It was $1 a beer. Yeah.
By the way, what time is it? It's like 9 a.m., isn't it? 9:30 a.m.
9:30, yeah.
Drinking beers at 9:30
Yeah.
a.m.
and doing a rare daytime show of an equally rare, both of us in the same room.
Yeah.
Show, if you call this outdoor gazebo a room, and the only show we've shot off continent. So I hope you guys have
Probably the only
enjoyed.
show. Yeah.
We're not doing a 4-hour show because it's ridiculous here, and
Yeah,
we'd rather
we're gonna go
enjoy
for
the
a walk.
island. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have my other doubles and go for a walk. Maybe hit the beach today. We've been through the jungle. We've been through
The snorkeling
islands.
was my highlight.
Yeah.
The bottom,
snorkeling was
the
crazy.
glass bottom boat, looking at the brain coral and all the fish, and then we snorkeled and just fish, like giant fish, all sorts of colors, just everywhere. Honestly, what did we snorkel for? It felt like
40
10
minutes,
but I
40
think it was
minutes.
a good 45 minutes. Yeah,
hour maybe.
that was worth my trip down here. That right there, it was just amazing experience. And Emma got to see all her bird stuff when we went to the little island. It's funny, we're on an island that's just tiny, and then there's an even smaller island where you go for bird watching and looking at things.
And in the background was, if you go onto my pictures, you can put a link in the show notes. You might have to friend me with Facebook or Google Plus, but if you go on my pictures, I've got a ridiculous number of GQ Andrew on the beach shots, and there's in front of on Speyside Bay.
Yep, that's gorgeous.
When we were just waiting for the boat to come to take us to the island and take us snorkeling, I got Andrew coming up out of the beach with Ian Fleming's old private island in the background for the Daniel Craig shot. So
Thank you.
that was pretty funny.
Daniel
I
Craig
think
shot,
I have a
yeah.
ridiculous number of shots of you just looking like you own the place on the beach. So it's all good.
So yeah, and check the show notes for this episode. I'll throw in a few pictures of some of the food that we talked about, and then just a link over to your Facebook album.
There'll be a video version of this, but we're pretty dark because we couldn't figure out how to turn the lights on in the gazebo during the day, and we don't really have a lot of power out here, and it is so insanely beautifully bright in the background.
Should we
turn the camera for the panorama here? The gardens and it's ridiculous. Like you just you can't believe how beautiful it is down here.
Oh, we're corded, and there's the grounds.
So yeah,
all that stuff's in the pictures. This may be only a video version. I suppose we can strip the audio out somehow too, but I've never actually used this program, so.
Well, we'll have to do that.
I'll drink.
We won't try too hard at it though. It's one of those things. So thank you for listening or watching or whatever you've done, and
we'll be back stateside in just a few days. We'll do a proper show.
Or we will just never leave.
Or not.
Or we'll just hide out in the back of a shack out here and comb the beach and
you could live
get a
here
couple bamboo
off of
fishing
nothing.
poles and just become local because there's not really a lot of incentive to go back to minus a billion.
Jesus.
Stupid.
Don't talk
crazy
about it.
weather.
Guys, thanks a lot for listening. Episode 289. Look for us on the Facebook and Twitter, twitter.com. You know where it is. We're not going to mention it. We'll talk to you later.
Cheers.